Welcome back to Talk of the Town on 99.7, 1450 WHTC and WHTC.com.
And we welcome you back to Talk of the Town for this Thursday, June 3rd. I'm Gary Stevens. It is the first Thursday of the month, the third day of the month. And on the first Thursday of the month, we are very pleased to join at this time the city manager for the city of Holland, Keith Van Beek. He joins us via the Zoom connection. Keith, good morning. Welcome back to Talk of the Town.
Good morning. Great to be with you today, Gary. When are we going to be in person again? Can I come and visit you at the station here maybe in a month or so?
The powers that be across the lake have to make the final decision.
Very good.
But one good thing about having the Zoom connection, it is nice to be able to chat with you virtually, of course. Listeners can be able to take calls. And, of course, we do have the 16-track tape machine rolling out back. And, you know what? Who knows? You might be on a video to use an old Bob Seger line from a classic, almost 50 years old concert. Anyway, back to the matters that be, and that is talking about the city of Holland. If you have a question for Keith, he'll be happy to answer it at 616-395-1450, 616-395-1450. Well, it looks as if we're getting closer and closer to normal. Yesterday, or last night, of course, was a city council meeting, and Holland City Council chambers, even before the outbreak, was designed for situations such as having social distancing and make sure everybody is safe and all that. Are we getting to the point now where it's still a little time before we have full-scale meetings, or have we gotten to the point where, we're back to where we were, in February of 2020?
Yeah, that's a great question, Gary. I described it to council last night that we're having very much various steps of a cautious return to normal. For our public meetings right now, one thing is one of the orders still is in effect that we are still through June, waiting till July 1, we're still at 50% capacity in our rooms, and we still have some distancing requirements that are in place. But we have returned where anyone that's fully vaccinated does not have to wear a mask in our public buildings, and that includes at our public meetings. And while council has been meeting in person, with the changes, all of our other board, committee, and commissions are now transferred back, and all of those are now in person also.
One more question, and I'll take a caller. What about people who need to do business with City Hall? I know that it was somewhat restricted. Has that been loosened, or when will that be loosened?
Yeah, great question. So we have been open. The change that we've had is that if someone comes to City Hall and maybe wants to meet with someone on second or third floor, we've come down to the lobby and interacted with people in the lobby. And as of this morning, we have the City Hall has always been open. The lobby's been always open, but now people can get past the lobby and go directly to the department that they're looking to interact with.
Yeah, and Ottawa County, of course, has lifted its mandatory appointment restrictions, and I think the city of Holland has done so. It hasn't already done so already.
Yeah, we never had the mandatory appointment. The public could always come into our building. It was just that whoever they were looking for or department, we would come down to the lobby. And I joked last night, council chambers had never had as many meetings in the last year as they did this past year, because we would just step into council chambers and take care of business for the public. And now the public can go right up to the various departments and interact with them on the various floors of City Hall.
616-395-1450. Good morning. You're on the line with Holland City Manager Keith Van Beek.
Good morning. I have a question for the city manager. Now, I know they're going to start to have the concerts at Collins Park on Friday night. This is starting in June, I believe, or this month. Now, what about the sidewalk performers? When's that going to come about?
Yeah, very good. I can give you a whole list. I have notes on this because we're pretty excited about things opening back up. So, Gary, how about if I go through that list and then I'll answer the caller's question that way?
I will do a quick thing for the caller. Street performers, we talked with Linda Hart last hour. 2 weeks from today, the 17th.
The 17th of this month.
Right.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right. Now, Keith, I will let you go through the entire list. That way we had the listener's question answered immediately, but there's a lot going on.
That's the sign of a good radio host right there, Gary. Well done. So Bows Pool opening weekend is actually this weekend, Saturday, June 5 and Sunday, June 6. So there's open swim 1 to 4 and then 5 to 7. And they have some kind of additional events going on there. So that's one fun, exciting open. As Gary said, Street Performers starts on Thursday, June 17, and that will run through August 19. So that's a big one that we're excited about. I'm definitely tend to go down there a lot of Thursday nights. The Summer Concert Series starts June 18, and there's a full line of events. You can find that at the Downtown Holland site, and that's June 18 through August 13. Of course, Farmers Market has been meeting pretty much all the way through, but yesterday was a big day for the Farmers Market. They were excited. We didn't have the fences around the historic Farmers Market. We were able to take those down. So that runs every Wednesday and Saturday. Windmill Island Gardens, of course, is still in great shape, and we encourage people to go out and visit there. And then we are having a return of the International Festival this year. So hold the date of August 21, Saturday, August 21.
And of course, we'll be happy to be a part of that International Festival here at 99.7 and 1450 WHTC, as well as the Lake Shore's 92.7. The Van is part of the International Festival festivities. You mentioned the Summer Concert Series at Holland Park. That's a little different than in the past Tuesday night concert series involving the American Legion Band at Holland Park, right?
Yeah, and that's happening too. So we have kind of the various bands that play on Friday night, and then you have the consistent band, the American Legion Band, that has their return also. So lots of things to do. We're really expecting that people just want to get out, enjoy the beautiful Michigan weather, enjoy our beautiful City of Holland amenities. So we're hoping for a big year.
616-395-1450. Let's get to another call. Good morning. You're on the line with City Manager Keith Van Beek.
Oh, good morning, Steve. Good morning, Ms. Van Beek. Thank you for the wonderful service for the people of Holland. I'm concerned about the lack of parking space at the Fabulous Transportation Center by the Amtrak train. There's only 73 parking spaces, and I know it's overused and overcrowded, especially in the summertime. I think there's a little land available just to the north where they could expand the parking lot. I'm wondering if you could look into that problem. A lot of people want to come to Holland by the Amtrak train from Chicago and so forth, but just my concern. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the call. Answer the call, and then there's a couple of questions along those lines. I want to follow up with you on this, Keith.
Yeah, I think what I had a little bit of hard time hearing him, but I think the concern was the amount of parking at the Padnos Transportation Center where Amtrak comes in. And just a reminder, a lot of people don't even know it. There is an additional parking lot that you kind of have to walk around onto 8th Street and cross over the tracks and then go the other side. And I know sometimes that can get relatively, full too. But that's what we have available for right now. Of course, the people that are visiting from Chicago don't have a car. And that's one of the great things that we have is that they're able to, and we know this happens. People come in from Chicago or other locations. They walk right down to City Flats or the downtown courtyard by Marriott and can walk back and can enjoy our beautiful city. But I'll take a look at that. You know, that's one of the things too, where there's a lot of partnerships going on there. So Amtrak also has some responsibilities and partnerships with us for those parking lots.
The other question, and it's been one I every once in a while I think about, I need to ask about, and I never get to it, but I am going to do it now since I'm thinking about it. For those who are a long time, well, technically I've been around here for 20 years, so I can classify myself as a long time. The site of the former Grand Rapids Press building at the corner of Lincoln and 8th, as well as the site of the former Pietro's restaurant, this was right next door, and the site of the old Pizza Hut on 7th and Columbia. It's now flat as a pancake. Nice grass growing there. What about any plans, if not from the city, but any developers have come up and saying, hey, you know, you get some prime downtown land down there. We'd like to do something with it. What's the situation? Because that's basically, you know, there's some buildings there still, but for the most part, you got a city block ready to be developed.
Yeah, so that is all under the control of one property owner. So periodically at City Hall, we'll hear about or we'll know that there's maybe some discussions about some long-term planning there. But there's nothing that I'm aware of, you know, on the near horizon for any plans to develop that property. And you know what? That's one of the things that Holland has done real well on. I know people love to see development, but one of the things that's kind of been a term that's used often in Holland is patient capital, and sometimes waiting for the right time and the right project to come along. And while we have a lot of activity in the near downtown area right now, so I trust that the right thing will happen at the right time on that large block.
Yeah, there's a couple of other pieces of property too that have, shall we say, need some, maybe need some new owners or stuff like that. That's been kind of vacant. Although one of them, right now, it's nice to be vacant because they're going to be using it for the Remember When car show, and that's the old Mercury car dealer over on 8th Street. They're going to use that for a lot of their parking, which is kind of nice. And then we got something a little bit last week about the old fire. The old fire station that is now become available, maybe too rich for our blood, but still, there's some property there in downtown Holland.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of development interest in downtown, and quite frankly, all around town in the entire city and the region right now. So, third floor here at City Hall is Community and Neighborhood Services, which is both the planning function, which obviously is a little bit looking ahead, and then the inspections function, which is, you know, supporting those projects that are in active building phase. And they're very busy right now on third floor, which is a sign that says there's a lot of things happening.
If you got a question for City Manager Keith Van Beek, you'll be happy to take it at 616-395-1450, 616-395-1450. Keith, I'm going to throw you a curveball because it doesn't involve the city of Holland, but I kind of wonder what would happen if we had a situation in the city of Holland that we have going on in Detroit. I will read you the story, and then I will sort of say, how would the city of Holland handle a situation such as this? Debris is falling from a building at East Warren Avenue and DeQuinder Street in Detroit that's been vacant since 2007. The structure was built in 1919. The owners already received $5,000 in tickets. The city says those tickets will keep being issued until repairs are made. Several streets have been closed near the building. What if we had a situation like that in Holland? How can the city deal with, say, a building that is privately owned, that is run down, that's causing problems, mayhem, and mischief, just as this one in Detroit has been? How would the city of Detroit handle a situation? City of Holland would handle a situation like that?
Yeah, that's a good curveball. But the good thing is Gary, is I think I can hit this one. It maybe even out of the infield. So the city of Holland has a process that we do not like to use. And we don't use it often, but we do use it periodically, and it's called the Dangerous Structures Ordinance. And basically, it allows us publicly, where if there's a structure on private property and privately owned, where if it's causing potential safety hazards, either to the greater public, which is kind of what it sounds like you kind of described there, Gary, in Detroit, or even to the people that are living on that site. We have a legal process that we go through that has multiple steps in it. Because again, we don't like to use this tool if we don't have to, but it would allow us to, quite frankly, take down a dangerous structure, and kind of, in effect, keep all the receipts from that, and then have that as a lien against the property, to be able to, again, take care of dangerous situations in the city when they arise. So we have a process in place, and we have used it.
I don't want to, let's put it this way. I don't want to stigmatize, that's a way to say it, certain issues the city of Holland has had with some of its hotels and motels that have had issues meeting code. But, that's one of the things I'm thinking of. Could that be used could have been used in those situations, because we had those code issues. I don't want to name buildings. I'm not going to name areas, but our listeners know some of the problems the city has had dealing with code violations.
Yeah, and the dangerous structures really is multiple steps down the road. We didn't even need to get to that situation with some of the businesses and the hotels that we've dealt with, because in that situation, what we did is we just pulled their license, and we said, you can't continue to operate as a business until you correct these code issues, which really, just interpretation for the listening public is, again, we have a responsibility where we want people that are either living in a location or paying money, for a night or for a week to live in a location, that needs to be up to code and in a safe environment. So that's a kind of another tool that we have available to us that we do use when necessary.
Good morning. You're on the line with Keith Van Beek.
Good morning. I live right downtown in Holland, and some of my neighbors and I were wondering if there's any possibility of some type of a convenience store coming in, since so many more people are moving downtown. Like Rest Haven is now building, and those residents might like to be able to walk somewhere where you could pick up some batteries, some Band-Aids, things like that. Otherwise, everyone has to get in their car and drive outside of the downtown area. So I'm just wondering if anything might be in the works. Thank you.
I appreciate the call. Thank you very much, Keith.
Yeah, thanks for the call. That's really kind of a market-driven thing. It's not an unusual question that we get. Probably the best that I can offer is this. We have the belief that as more people move downtown and have the desire exactly what you just talked about, that someone's going to say, hey, it makes sense to have a little bit more than, kind of the smaller options that are available right now. Like Market Zero is a really neat place downtown, kind of between River and Pine, that I know a lot of people are enjoying. I like to walk down there and get lunch every once in a while. But I know what you're talking about is maybe just a little bit more offers of convenience. We're watching pretty closely, and we think that we're going to be able to have enough people downtown where there's a market for some of the types of grocery stores that are kind of scaled for urban environments that you've seen in other parts of West Michigan. So we're pretty hopeful that with the development that we just talked about earlier in the call with Gary, as that we believe continues, then I think there's going to be a market, and you'll probably see that in the future.
One final thing, and it's probably going to take the rest of our time, Keith, to talk a little bit about this. Waterfront Holland, the development is moving forward in terms of not the development, quote unquote development, but the actual process of what to do with the old James DeYoung property is moving forward. The submission, the request for bids, request for ideas. Again, step by step by step. And right now it's okay, you got an idea, submit it, right?
Yeah, and it's even carved up a little bit there. So I appreciate the opportunity to be able to talk about this, Gary. We're in the process right now. We're in the RFQ process. And for those that don't know, RFQ is request for qualifications. So this first step that we're doing with consultant help is we're asking for development groups to submit just information about their qualifications. Do they have the size and the scope and the ability to pull off, which would be a pretty large development? So we've invited, and we've had a significant amount of interest. And here, as we approach the end of June, we have a deadline where those groups would need to submit information. And then we would review that. And we're not really looking to narrow down that list. We're really looking just to qualify where we would invite then those groups that have the qualifications to pull off a project, that they would participate in the RFP portion of that, which is the proposals. And at that stage, they're really going to have to do a lot more work, and they would submit what they would plan to do, the mix of, mixed use development that they would have. And what we're looking for, again, is obviously an option is to do it at the James DeYoung site itself. But as Waterfront Holland, that larger process also envisioned, is that we're also open to the idea that a developer would propose a land swap of some sort, where they would do a development somewhere else and then potentially move an existing user to the JDY site. So we're open to both of those possibilities. We're excited that there has been quite a bit of interest at this stage. But of course, we'll wait and see who actually submits for that RFQ stage one.
He is the city manager for Holland, Keith Van Beek. He joins us on the first Thursday of every month on Talk of the Town. Keith, as always, thank you for your time and your thoughts on what's going on in Holland. And we hope to be able to chat with you again on, if I'm looking at it correctly, July the 8th, I think, is what the day is, because the 4th is on Thursday. Okay, we'll talk to you in about 4 weeks. Thank you, Keith.
I look forward to it, Gary, as always. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Keith Van Beek on 99.7 and 1450 WHTC.